when I first saw that, I did get chills watching that story. It really takes a lot of what we were talking about with the Buddhist perspective earlier. Releasing the anger, compassion towards somebody else. And the key point in that clip was when she said it was for her. The forgiveness was for her. And I think that's an important thing. Did you want to say that?
And that's what we've heard throughout the individuals who have spoken very eloquently to this issue of forgiveness is we have as much of a culpability in this journey as the victim does. And so it's a great challenge upon the individual to arrive at a place in that journey, as you've seen in this particular excerpt, where she's saying that I am taking responsibility for my opportunity to forgive, so I can move forward. It's far more difficult than we've ever come to realize.
And I'm sure that didn't happen overnight. No. It was a very long process for that woman. Now here's the clip that I had mentioned earlier that I went and interviewed different faith leaders, and sorry about some of the technical problems, but I'm hoping this will play here. And this is about 7-8 minutes. Okay, that gives us an idea of different faith traditions and their beliefs and views on the process of forgiveness. Dr. Crawford?
You know, it's interesting because one of the themes that I keep hearing is that this whole forgiveness journey really places a burden on the individual. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that it seems like to me that a lot of what we're hearing is we're saying that in order for us to move forward, then I have the responsibility, I have the duty of care to extend compassion, extend forgiveness for the purposes of moving forward, despite what the victim and how the victim feels about it.
And it seems strange. Dr. Crawford was talking about, when we try to forgive someone else, the pressure of forgiving is on us. It seems like it would be, the other way around, where why hasn't this offender or the person that did something, why hasn't he apologized? Why is it that I have to do it? But we have to remember it's for you, not the other person. And something we haven't talked about yet, but we'll open up with questions, is forgiving yourself. So we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Some people that I met in Portland during my filming of the forgiveness journey, Karen and Curtis Poley. And as you can read there, Curtis was severely abused at 2 years old and began a long journey of healing and overcoming anger. I think this story and the next story that I'm going to show really hit me pretty hard, and it's just kind of stuck in my head, because I'll just never forget the story and what they had to go through.
What was illustrated in this excerpt here is the ideal is that forgiveness and compassion requires work. In other words, you don't read about it and as a result become compassionate. That you have to do the work of humanity. And what you actually saw in the exchange of these two individuals is the ability to actually do the work that engages in a way that allows both of them to move forward. It's work involved. It's not something that you read. It's not something that you think about. It's something that you do.
Yeah, we're going to open it up here in a little bit with some questions and answers. But one of the things I want to bring up right now is we think, does the offender or the perpetrator have to be with you to forgive? Does that person? What happens if that person is across the world or you never see that person again? Can you still forgive? Can there be reconciliation without the offender there? And that's just something that maybe you can think of as the day goes on. But I think it's possible, and I don't know what your feelings are, but I think it's possible to be able to forgive if you never reconcile with a person.
Yeah, and I've talked with a number of individuals about that very question, and as we've talked, the question was, does forgiveness complete the circle when the perpetrator is in your physical presence? And some people said that they think it's important that the perpetrator is in your space, and others feel like that it's not necessary because the journey toward forgiveness, the burden of responsibility is really on you for the purposes of moving forward.
I think it depends on the offense. If you get an offender bender, you can pretty much easily get over that in a day or two, or maybe instantly. But if it's a serious crime, I think it would be easier for the offender to be close to you for forgiveness. As a filmmaker, I love reading and I love studying a lot of different things, and I love studying about religions and spiritualities. And something I came across just recently, it's called the Sacred Hoop of 100 Eagle Feathers. And it's a well-bred movement in the Native American tradition. And you may know that a lot of Native American tradition beliefs are usually passed down in the forms of oral histories, stories, principles, and rely on face-to-face teaching in one family and community. But in this, it's a sacred hoop that was built in a sweat lodge in May of 1995 to provide prayers for the hoop and align its purposes to the coming healing time. The elders placed the four gifts of healing, hope, unity, and the power to forgive the unforgivable into the hoop. It's very interesting, and they travel across the country. In fact, the hoop has been traveled over 53,000 miles to different Native American communities, and they just place the unforgivable offenses and try to forgive the unforgivable and live a balanced life, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And there's a few images there of the sacred hoop in different areas of the country. And why I'm leading into this is because in my film, The Forgiveness Journey, I have met amazing people, and I met Arnold Thomas. And in fact, he's a speaker here at the Parliament, and I'll give you some information in just a minute on where you can meet him. But Arnold attempted suicide back in the 1980s. I think it was 1980, if I remember correctly. And of course, he survived, but he lives blind and disfigured from the suicide attempt. So I'm going to show you his story and his path, and this is more self-forgiveness. And this is about 8-minute clip on Arnold's story. Almost to this date, back in 2006, October 2006, how many people remember the West Nickel Mine school shooting? Okay, so it was all over the news. It was a horrible tragedy in the Amish one-room schoolhouse. Gunman Charles Carl Roberts IV took hostages and shot 10 girls aged 6 to 13, killing 5 of them before committing suicide in the schoolhouse. And you probably remember the forgiveness that was given that day and many years after. One of the people there during the shooting, one of the Amish people, we must not think evil of this man. I mean, would that be the first thought in your mind? Normally, no, and it's amazing. It happened to be a grandfather, of one of the murdered Amish girls. He had a mother and a wife and a soul, and now he's standing before a just God, an Amish father at the shooting. I don't think there's anybody here that wants to do anything but forgive. A nearby Brethren community member. One Amish man held Robert's sobbing father in his arms, reportedly for as long as an hour to comfort him. The Amish have also set up a charitable fund for the family of the shooter. The mother of the shooter, her name is Terry Roberts, and she does a lot of public speaking on this issue, and she's holding a picture of her son in the frame there. I just want to show you a very short clip here that happened to be in the news several years back on the forgiveness that she received from the Amish community. Okay, we're running out of time, so we want to open up as a discussion here briefly. As a filmmaker, one of my goals, the major goal for me, is to show my work and to help others. And that's what I truly believe in, and I hope that these clips and these stories have helped you in some way.